Do you say it depends?
I will continue to say it depends.
It may not.
Answer to the provocation of the place.
Right.
The purpose being to put in the glass the beauty of the place. There are messengers.
Yes.
Messengers, and we are interpreters. We're not technologists. It's not the point.
I think what you're saying is it will change the soils.
It will change the wines.
Now is time for people to really understand you're doing something quite special. 20 years later, he poured it for me blind, and he said,
For over 3 decades, François Millet was the quiet force behind some of Burgundy's most iconic wines at Domaine Comte de Vogüé. Today he crafts his own label, François Millet Fils, alongside his wife and sons from a humble cellar in Chambolle-Musigny. His wines reflect a lifetime of devotion to terroir, elegance, and restraint. This interview is especially meaningful, as François shares a decades-long friendship with Suzanne Chambers, whose partnership through Chambers & Chambers wine merchants helped bring his vision to the US market. Here's that interview.
Hi.
Hi, Suzanne.
Thank you for meeting with me today. Thank you for visiting with us. And I'm very excited about our first interview together.
Mm-hmm. It's a pleasure for me.
Yeah, thank you. So, Chambers now represents your family estate, which is very exciting. But before we get into that, I'd love to talk a little bit about your previous history. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to start with what got you in the wine business? Why did you decide to take that as your passion and career?
I think it's really the connection of our job and nature, and which is the essence of what we should follow. And it's very interesting to try to understand how a place is giving you that type of wine, and the purpose being to put in the glass the beauty of the place. So this is so unique and so deep as a profession. And first, the viticulture, starting with a plant, giving grapes and transforming these grapes into a wine.
How did you not end up? How were you picked to come to Comte de Vogüé and have the illustrious, long history that you had at the Domaine? We met very early on.
Several times,
yeah.
Yes. Well, Domaine de Vogüé, I was chosen among quite a lot of people, and so apparently I was fitting to that function.
Was it the ethos of who you were and brought to the estate along with your winemaking? Was it how you approached?
Very probably.
Yeah.
Because de Vogüé has always wished to, because of that long tradition, Domaine dating back to the 15th century.
Unbelievable.
It has always been the wish to continue that approach, that especially when you're working with terroir like Musigny, Amoureuse and Bonnemar, you can very quickly disfigure these places if you're not cautious and not respectful.
Talking about the respect, I find it absolutely amazing that until you retired and now Francois retiring. So
everyone.
So there was a very,
team.
There was a very distinct relationship that the three of you had that really allowed.
It was working very well.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of all the visits that I came every year, and when I think of all the visits, and
you can see that it's very obvious.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. What, for you, in your history at Vogüé, do you feel brought you to where you are today? And what was it that you're still working with that appellation in a big way and have great passion for it. What is it about Chambolle-Musigny that is in your blood, to say?
I think that this village is very unique because these wines, all these wines, a little more when you move to the north, when you move to Moret-Saint-Denis. It's not a critique for Moret-Saint-Denis, but these appellations are absolutely subtle in the sense that there's a beautiful strength in these wines, but without any aggressivity, with a lot of elegance, a lot of refinement. These wines are almost difficult to understand, or almost to go to assess, to understand. And this is such a unique area, such a unique village. And at the same time, these wines are quite difficult to vinify, because you have to be extremely cautious to really keep that elegance, to keep that something which is very ethereal, which is difficult to catch, and that it's better not to catch, not to try to catch. So what is unique about this place is that you're making wine, but you're not with them. You have to let them alone.
Allow them to develop into what they're going to be.
Yes, and in terms of contact, or interaction, or intervention, there's nothing to do.
When I think back to the years, especially the early years of harvest, and taking tweezers and...
That was 91.
Yeah.
1991, yeah.
And you made a very good wine.
It was, I hope it was a success. It was not easy because we had a hailstorm in August, the 22nd.
My birthday.
Well, I'm sorry about that. And yes, so we got the berries dried out afterwards, but they didn't really fall down. So we had to. It was very imperative to take them one by one and with tweezers.
I mean, people really have a hard time believing that, but I know,
reality.
Yeah.
But I think it was the only way of getting rid of these dry berries.
Yeah.
I had done a very quick vinification, micro-vinification, just to see if it was worthwhile. I was anyway thinking it was, but just to check. And very obviously you had all these dry tastes coming very quickly by infusion. So it was really a reality. So that's what we did. And
it's pretty amazing. Okay, so 35 years at Vogüé.
That I vinified, yes, true.
So you're stepping away. You did step away from that in 2017. No, you did not.
21.
Right. You started making your own wine in 2017.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm asking a question. It's a bit rhetorical because I already have an idea of the answer. Why family estate? What brought you to wanting to work with your entire family, your wife and 2 sons?
First thing is, my 2 sons are working already in the trade since their youth, and personally, I didn't want to stop doing that job. Why? Because it's a bit almost positively visceral. It's something that which is really inside yourself, And as we said at the start, this beautiful connection with nature that's very, very, very deep and very interesting. Second, when you leave a profession, you leave that family. And as anyone having worked that amount of time, you have many, many connections. So that, and I think psychologically speaking, it's quite problematic. It would have been very problematic. Third, we have a house that was belonging to a vigneron in the past. So when we bought that house, there was a cellar just beneath, empty, sleeping cellar. So it was quite logical to start something at that place. And Michelle, my wife, did a formation, education about viticulture and winemaking. So
go a little further in that.
So Michelle, my wife, is working with us, and it's very simple. She's part of the family. So I think.
But she's also very knowledgeable and very.
Yes, and also something about my family-in-law. Can you say that? Family-in-law. They were farmers and making wine too. So we were very happy to have the vineyards from my father-in-law. So that's another thing that adds up the logic, and
that's in the Jura.
That's in the Jura. Yes, sorry, that's in the Jura. And also Adrien and Julien, our two sons, they have made several vintages at Vogüé with me in the past. And they are, as we said at the beginning, they are in the wine trade. Adrien is a viticulturist and tractorist with Domaine with Christophe. And Julien is a winemaker, a régisseur at Domaine des Astrelles in Gevrey-Chambertin, which was previously Pierre Desjons. It was sold to Monsieur and Madame Chapier, and so is a régisseur there. So it's coherent.
So given today, you're working with a number of different vineyards, and you're working with several different lieux-dits. What brought you to these particular vineyards, and how do you see what you're doing now developing? What are the vineyards that you feel the most passionate about? I mean, I think you probably feel passionate about all of them, every single one, no matter how tiny.
Yes.
I mean, for us,
That's true.
yeah, I know. Someone said to me, another vintner that we represent, years ago, it was a very challenging vintage. It was 1983.
Yeah.
And I said to him at the dinner table, I don't know, I'm not so in love with this particular vintage. 20 years later, he poured it for me blind, and he said, what do you think of this wine? I said, it's pretty good. And he said, you didn't like it when it came out. Which brings me back to, there's so much. I mean, I feel this more with Burgundy because of the history and the relationships that we've had. I've known you through Comte de Vogüé. I've listened to you talk about every vintage and every wine, and listen to you say it depends.
I will continue to say it depends.
But for me, I can't imagine you doing business with anyone that doesn't have great respect for their vineyards. And I think tasting your wines brings me to how special those vineyards are to you and how they taste. So could you tell our audience about what brought you to the vineyards, the tiny Ludis that you're working with?
Well, what brought us to these vineyards is relationship. We know very well these domains, and we know, very important, the way they work with the viticulture. They are very serious. And we have, what is interesting is that they are open, that we come to the vineyards. So there's no taboo. We can ask anything we wish. And so that's...
It's as though they're working for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could not buy any grapes, buy any must, or buy any white grapes if we are not sure that it's at the level we wish inside the appellation.
Tell us about the appellations you're working with.
Well, we started with I think 6 appellations. Well, yeah, we have to start. And by the way, we wanted, right at the beginning, for the first vintage, which was 17, we wanted to be prepared, totally prepared. So it's a lot of investment. But we have all the equipment, all that has any domain. But we wanted that at the start, not to begin with like a lack of equipment that could lead to a lack of quality. We're not technologists, it's not the point, but an equipment, a good equipment, that's very important. So right at the beginning, everything was set. In terms of appellation, we started with appellations from Chambolle and Vogüé also. And then we continued with Gevrey, also with Fissin, Marsanais, Côte Chalonnaise.
Go ahead, sorry.
So, like in 23, we have, if I'm not wrong, something like 21 appellations, 21 lieux-dits in 23.
I'm going to give you my advice for how I pick people in our portfolio, or I did pick people in our portfolio, and it always has been the winemaker and then the vineyard, because a great winemaker will always make the best that can be made out of that vintage. For you, you're making a barrel of some wines, which makes it very difficult to go out and taste them with everyone and to make everyone understand how amazing these wines are. What is your advice for someone who is passionate about wine but doesn't know your estate and doesn't know necessarily the lieux-dits that you're talking about? Because some of them that we're bringing in aren't really imported into the U.S. So
Yes,
tell us about that.
That's precisely what is interesting. The fact that we have small lot enables us to, and as you said just before, to put in the front a lieux-dit that actually you don't really find elsewhere. So that's, I think that's the interest of showing also that you can be so much in detail with the place, with the site, with nature. And so the advice to a consumer, it's a complicated question. I would say choose everything.
Yes.
That would be, that
Bottle
would
of
be
everything.
That would be the best approach, but depends on what they have tasted before. It depends on if they want to discover something special, red or white, or like if you have like two lieux-dits in the same village, discover the nuance between the two.
Through a phenomenal winemaker, or winemakers, I should say, yeah. You and I talked a little bit about the Haute Côte, and I'd like you to also talk a little bit about the Côte Chalonnaise, because anyone who is interested in Burgundy is aware that as global warming or as things change, it's really giving appellations that weren't considered exceptional new opportunity.
Well, I think the Côte Chalonnaise, I don't think the Côte Chalonnaise was suffering from a lack of ripeness due to the weather conditions. I think it was more the north of Burgundy because of that north position.
So it was the winemaking for the Côte Chalonnaise?
It was, I think it was, the Côte Chalonnaise in the past was...
We're going back a ways, I realize.
Had a lack of identity because it was most of the time bought, and legally speaking, I mean, it was going to...
Negotiants.
Yes, you could go to Bourgogne, or you see. So the Côte Chalonnaise. So the Côte Chalonnaise maybe they really try to get its own identity, and they really try to. It's a beautiful area, a beautiful region, and now there are domains which are much more precise, who really wish to bottle their wines.
There's a lot of really good wine coming out of the Côte Chalonnaise. I don't remember that in the 80s, and I don't remember that in the 90s.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's for anyone who has not explored that, it's something that is worth exploring. And as Burgundy has gotten more expensive, it really lets you buy something that has great terroir,
great quality. So
great quality.
The advice that we're talking about could be just to discover the Côte Chalonnaise.
Yeah.
That could be an advice. Yes.
Talk about the Haute Côte.
The Haute Côte.
Yeah.
The Haute Côte. The Haute Côte is so different. First, in terms of course, of elevation, and that.
What's the elevation? Excuse me.
The elevation, you can add approximately 150 meters, which is quite significant.
Yes, it is.
So that's the equivalent of 1 or 2 degrees less by elevation, with the elevation. And the Haute Côte in the past was very complicated, and especially in the 70s. The 70s was very cold. For the Côte too, by the way. Not easy either for the Côte, but of course even more for the Haute Côte.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit complicated. Maybe also the fact of like doing some crop thinning was not something which the domains were doing even in the Côte also. So with that climate and that difficult weather conditions, the Haute Côte had a lot of difficulty to ripen. It was very complicated. Nowadays, it's a bit sad maybe to say, but the climate has changed. Well, it's a constant. Of course, we hope it will calm down. But as a matter of fact, the Haute Côte now are ripe. They are ripe. And Haute Côte can provide a lot of nuances. Haute Côte is a very wide open area with a lot of hills.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a polyculture area with a lot of exposures, a lot of possibilities to plant also. And
a lot of great domains are either buying fruit or investing, yeah.
Yes, and so as an advice, to come back to the question, advice, we have two Haute Côte, and Petite Vigne et Martenne, these two, and they are not far away, really not, and the difference is very obvious.
Significant, yeah.
Significant, yeah.
Yeah, I love what's happening up there. I think it's remarkable.
And that area we're talking about is west exposed, west. You don't have a lot of vineyards on the côte which are exposed, west exposed.
Yeah.
So that's the possibility of the Haute Côte to have this, all these, all these exposures and elevation too, and so on.
So if you look back in the years you've been in Burgundy, what do you think has changed for the good, for the betterment of the Côte? And what do you feel are going to be the challenges, or perhaps we're not paying as close attention as we should be to this remarkable area, the challenges for people?
Well, what is the good evolution, could we say, the first good evolution, not to talk about the weather conditions, but as a human intervention, you have the yields, the seriousness about how much grapes you produce. This is really something that started, I would say, in the 90s. I mean, the sorting table arrived about at that time. So that's the first thing. Also the use of chemicals, which was just beginning to slow down around in the 90s.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in terms of winemaking, and it's a bit strange, it's very positive for quality. But at the same time, in the 90s, there was this decade was extraction decade.
Yes.
So why should it be like that? Knowing the fact that the viticulture has become much more serious, it's a bit strange. That's the 90s.
It's the influence of other markets. It's travel, you know?
Travel.
Well, when vignerons started traveling, they saw how other people were making wine, and I think for a moment, and you had Parker, and you had the idea that the more extraction you get.
Yes, of course, there was this media and wine critic influence.
Yeah.
You had also certain almost guru-like. You see who I mean?
Absolutely, you bet.
So, so it's a bit. It's not coherent, I think, because there was so much improvement in the 90s. If we talk, if we go back a little bit, we talk about the 70s, very, very difficult and very.
Rain.
There wasn't. I think people were more preoccupied by the weather conditions than trying to try to find something that could decrease the problem of these weather conditions. In the 70s, it was you find very good wines, but and then came the 80s. 80s, very strange too, because I remember in the 80s, as an example, you could, and that was advised by the agricultural chamber. It was not just our own decision. And in the 80s, there was that fashion to bring some sort of compost coming from plastic, coming from urban compost in the 80s.
Wow, I don't remember that.
So,
Okay.
so that's extremely crazy to think about that. And sometimes you can, in the soil of certain vineyards, you can find still some plastic, little plastic sheet.
Yeah.
So that's...
Was that to control weeds or?
No, it's a compost.
A compost.
It was to bring nutrients.
Oh my God.
So you see,
Yeah.
the 80s
Yeah.
was as if almost the advices which were given by the officials, was to say, no, don't worry, just bring this stuff and we'll solve the problem, and don't just do that. And the 80s and...
It's happened here too. I mean, not with that, but there's so many things that, you look back at that the universities were recommending that, did a lot of harm.
Yes, and also in terms of soils, herbicides, and
God.
and at the same time, because sometimes it's very funny how on one side you have the viticulture evolving, and on the other you have the winemaking evolving. And
Yes.
in the 80s, it's for the good and maybe not. Depends on how you use it. Came the yeasts, the possibility of
using
inoculation.
Yes.
It's a big progress, by the way,
Yeah.
but that depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
So it's a big progress because we have to admit that before, when you had a problem with fermentation with the reds,
Yeah.
you could not inoculate.
Yes.
So if you didn't want to get the wine damaged by VA or anything else,
Yeah.
the only solution was to go back to the vineyards, pick the verjus, the second generation,
Yes.
and you make a pied de cuve, you ferment a vat, and you inoculate with that pied de cuve, you inoculate the other tanks, which are struggling to finish fermentation.
Yeah.
So, and it was not working all the time, and it was cold, so it was very difficult to finish the ferment.
Yes.
And there was no tank with a double envelope at that time.
Is there a time frame that if a tank won't ferment, is there a time frame at which it becomes an impossible task, where you lose the wine or you have to absolutely intervene?
At that time, you could lose the wine very quickly.
Yeah.
Of course, today, though. So the bad of that, the bad of the fact that the yeast came on the market is not to use it systematically.
Yes.
But it's a good tool. And the same for the whites. We talk about batonnage, and the batonnage, which was a technique used precisely because the whites were struggling a lot, sometimes even more, to finish fermentation. So that was the only way to put in suspension all the yeast and with the leaves and all the yeast, and to put in contact the yeast and the residual sugars.
So as that has evolved, the idea behind that is it adds mouthfeel rather than to help it.
Yes,
the wine.
Yeah, in the past it was legitimate to do that because it was a way of helping the wines.
Of course.
But today, personally, we're not doing any batonnage.
Yeah.
Not at all. I've never done any batonnage with the white Musigny, by the way.
Which is a great thing to say. I mean, I love hearing that.
To preserve the identity and the the minerality of the place.
Yes.
So the batonnage,
So you might get the mouthfeel, but you lose
yes,
the quality of the vineyard.
mouthfeel and extraction.
Yeah.
It's a way of it's almost the only way of extraction that you have with white.
Yeah.
Almost. So we are we're in the 80s, back to the 90s with that period. It was very extractive. A lot of new oak, sometimes 200%.
Yes.
That could happen.
Yes.
And the problem.
Still happens. It may not. It still happens. I mean, I've heard people talk about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it continues. Yeah. And moreover, as you remember, the vintages of the 90s are by nature very, very strong vintages, very structured. 1990, 91,
Yeah.
not 92, 93, 94, okay, 95. Not
Why do you
90
see 94 okay?
okay, meaning not too structured.
Yeah, okay.
Not so, not too structured.
Okay.
Well, it's a very forgotten vintage.
It is.
Which is a pity. 95 and 98 and 99.
Okay.
So imagine pushing
Yeah.
these vintages. It was very problematic.
Yeah. Okay.
So then came the 2000.
Yep.
Sort of a break with extraction, especially extraction. Oak, maybe a little bit.
Are you talking specifically about the 2000 vintage or the
The
10-year?
2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Got it,
decade 2000.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
the decade 2000.
Yeah.
And much more respect in terms of viticulture. Much more organic vineyards, even biodynamic vineyards, and yes, much more a step back with extraction. It's a sort of transition decade, I would say, before getting to the next decade. Well, the next decade is still with the wish of respect in the vineyards. It continues in terms of winemaking to be relatively respectful because it's a case by case anyway.
And we were also getting warmer temperatures, and so there was more extraction without even necessarily.
Yes, I was going to come to that very important parameter. In the meantime, yes, as you said, in the meantime, we are seeing the change of climate. And which is beginning to be recurrent. You see, I think the first vintage, or one of the first, apart from, now we're talking about that evolution, if you take, apart from exceptions like 76, the drought, and then you go back to the famous 49 and 47, and maybe in the 50s you could have a very warm vintage, but really punctuous, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then I think the first vintage, which was surprisingly
03.
hot and early, was 85.
Oh. Okay.
85, the acidity in the context of that period was quite low.
Okay.
And we're saying with 85, we are peaking early. And it was peaked mid-September.
Okay.
Then I think the next one is 89.
89.
89. Then 97, 2000, 2003.
I was thinking 2003 because it was such an anomaly. I mean, the
heat was very violent.
Yeah.
But 2000 was very early, and it was very hot in 2000. Not as hot as 2003, but it was picked
Early.
very early, and then you have 2000 2005.
I really like the 2000s. Yeah, 2005.
And five,
Yeah.
2007,
Yeah.
2009, and then you have 2011, 2014, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2022,
Yeah.
and apparently 2025.
Yeah.
So it's getting very, very obvious.
Yeah.
And
Where do you think that's going? I mean, where do you?
yeah, so it's as if we had a sudden outside element coming, natural element coming. The thing is, today it's quite difficult not to ripen, unless it's a disaster, unless the summer is a disaster, really a disaster. We got the vintage with which we got almost close to the disaster. It was 2008, which is very good, but it was very right at the end that we got hopefully that window of good weather, 2 weeks. Otherwise, I don't think it would have correctly ripe. So that's the positive side. Of course, like the haute côte,
Right.
that helps. The problem is it going to continue?
Yeah.
But today, the problem is the face of the terroir could change. Are we still able to recognize the places, to recognize the terroir, to recognize all these sites with that pressure of that climatic pressure? And
I think what you're saying is it will change the soils.
it will change the wines.
It will change the wines, but the heat will affect the soil, which will how the grapes work with the soil, I guess I'm trying to say.
I don't know.
No?
Maybe not.
Okay. It's just it'll be during
It will
harvest.
change.
It'll change.
It will
Okay.
change the profile of the grapes.
Yeah.
For sure. And,
Yeah.
and
profile.
we hope about the resilience, the resilience of the vine. It's a very powerful plant,
Yes.
able to adapt to a lot of difficulties. So that's I think it's the big fright. It's not to recognize anymore the place, the site, but we have faced very recently. If you take 18, 19, and 2020, and also less 22, but if you take this and less 17, in terms of heat pressure, heat domination, 18, 19, 20 are really, the summer was really, really crazy. And everyone was scratching his head saying, what are we going to make?
So when you have, given that I was just in France, when you have those heat spikes, we get heat spikes like that.
Yeah.
The Napa Valley can get particularly warm, but you've got where a lot of great Pinot Noir in California is made, it's close to the coast. And so at least it cools down. What happens when you have heat spikes? And if it's only for a moment, what does that do to the evolution of the grapes? Here it would, if we have that, it'll burn if they're far enough along, or even if they're not, it'll burn the grapes.
Well, you don't necessarily get sunburns if you are careful
With the canopy.
with the canopy
Yeah.
when you pluck the
Yeah.
leaves. So we have to try to get some from Normandy
Yeah.
if we can.
Yeah.
But with the Seine, maybe that could work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is
but
a dilemma.
you see to come back to the fright of not seeing anymore the sites. Actually, we see them. We still see them, and I think 19 is even more. We're very preoccupied by 19 because the result of that heat has brought a lot of concentration, which have and that has really risen up the degrees, the natural degrees, very much. But it has also concentrated the acidity at the same time. So, the 19, especially this vintage, the 19.
Okay.
So that's a good point. It's a bit artificial, I admit. And these wines you don't see alcohol in these wines.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so 19, it sounds like you're going to be high in the 19 vintage.
Yes, but there's no, and I think it comes from the fact that this alcohol is natural.
Yeah.
Of course, if you begin to chapterize 19, which could be a bit obsessive in terms of alcohol, but as long as you don't try to bring that component in an artificial way, the 19 is able really to integrate naturally. There's a lot of elements in the 19. It's a very concentrated vintage. So far we are.
So will the wines drink earlier? I mean, you think it'll okay, got it.
No, that's also a question.
Okay, all right.
We're talking about the identity of the place.
Yeah.
We have to talk about if that place, the identity of the place has a potential.
Yeah.
It has a potential. It has a potential. Of course, the acidity is very important it's obvious. But
huge. Yeah.
I think also what is very important in terms of longevity, it's the fact that the advantage of having all these dry seasons is that we have no rot.
Okay, François, let's talk about your winemaking and your approach to winemaking, the vinification, what you do, what makes your wines so special.
We are very simply comparing a site, we can call it a site or terroir or a place, you see what I mean, to a person, to a wine person, really. And that person has the same personality for each vintage, but the vintage is bringing a nuance that I would call the mood of that person. So that's really something that it's a wish, because in a way, extremely speaking, you have two options when you make wine. You have the ego-technological wine, and you have the wine from the terroir. It's very pretentious, to be sure.
And for you.
And for me, it's there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's not in between, it's really there.
Yeah, very distinctly there.
It can be in between, by the way, but it's not, I think it would be a pity to be in between because we are really following what we try to listen to the place, and we try to understand if the place has a question of energy in terms of wine.
You've talked about that.
Mineral energy.
That's important to you. That's very important to you.
Yes. Maybe it's mineral, maybe it's not. So it can be more on the structure side. Maybe it can be both at the same time. Maybe it can be a bit too structured. You can find places which are slightly tough, and that with which you have to be very behind, not to provoke, and not to answer to the provocation of the place.
Right.
Meaning that if we are vinifying a place which is trying to provoke us, to tell us, you think you're going to win, I'm going to win. It's almost reciprocal. That happens not all the time, but in that case we are even more cautious. Meaning, in that case, just soft infusion, no punch downs. But if we have a place which obviously likes contact, it's exactly the same like people. People like to chat, but with harmony, positively. Or some others don't want to talk. So just let them speak and get the best from that person. So So there's no intervention, apparently. Why? Well, just pump overs, but this is a caress pump over. This is not a true contact. Apparently, because actually infusion this is an extraction, but it's a soft extraction. That's why I don't like the term extraction. It's a soft contact, I would say. It's a dissolution.
Very gentle.
Very gentle dissolution. And it's very strange because everyone talks about punch downs, délistage.
Yes.
You have a lot of techniques as if they were starting from nothing. And I think we are forgetting the infusion, which is automatic in a way when you make wine. And as if doing the plunging was starting from zero.
Right.
And it's absolutely not true. And the wines only by this soft, relatively long, it's not a short infusion, takes the time, have a very good potential. And also before that, they have the definition of the place is totally expressed.
You have a very soft press too. I mean, you're not looking for extraction. You're looking for.
You mean the press wine?
Yes.
Yes, the press wine.
Very soft.
Yes, of course. The press wine is also a way we really check the press wine. But now we won't go too far away because we will, if the press wine is a good press wine, we will not hesitate to bring it to the free on juice. You see, a child needs the mother, of course, probably at first, but it's good when the father is present.
You and my husband could talk about that for a long time. I agree. No, absolutely.
So that brings a very beautiful balance.
Yeah.
So it's the fact of not being, in that case, I think we would be minimalist. Sometimes when you explain that you make the wine just by soft infusion, except the wines that would need a contact, people are surprised, and they could tell you that happened. You're a minimalist. Are you defining yourself as a minimalist? No, we're defining ourselves by being very respectful with the place, very, very simply.
Which you think, again, comes right back to how we began the conversation about each vineyard that you're producing wine from. It's really showing the sense of place and listening to it and understanding it. And you've known these vineyards for many, many, many years. So I think that all is part of the whole.
Yeah.
Oak. What's your philosophy on oak?
Oak, we're not saying that aging in oak is not a good idea. It's, of course, everything is aged in oak, whites and reds, even aligoté. I should not say even aligoté because it's a bit pejorative for aligoté, which deserves much more than being with the crème de cassis.
Your aligoté is stunning. Yes, you're right.
Well, thanks. So no new oak. Also an aging, which is adapted and long. Well, depends on what we mean with long, but it's a long adapted aging. Reds and whites, even aligoté. That means 18 months, 20 months of aging. But knowing the fact that our cellar, and that's the first thing we set in 17 as AC. We have AC, which means that the aging is at 12 degrees centigrade, of course, on the lees. On the fine lees.
on the fine lees.
And we get the fine lees by racking. We rack traditionally with the brocro, the facet, and with the check, get off the brocro, put the facet, and with that tool that lifts up from behind the cask so that you can get to, when it's not clear anymore, you get the fine lees. We have an old tool, it's from the 19th century, I'm sure. It's 20 kilo almost. So, but that's the advantage. And you get the best lees for aging. And to finish with the length of aging, whatever the variety, if you from the harvest to the next Christmas, you see the wines they were doing well, but you're still with that sort of exuberance of the variety. But when you over-vintage, the aging, then you really begin to see that the variety is going away and letting the place to the place. That's extremely obvious, and even more with the aligoté. So yeah, it's very important. There's always a fright about the whites in terms of length of aging. And it's very psychological, because the whites apparently are fragile. Everything is fragile, but the reds can be fragile too. So there's always this, because of the color, this sort of fright that we have to bottle the wine because it's beginning. We check, of course. We check if we have to continue with that length of aging. But no, with the fine lees and temperature control all the time.
The extended aging, it gives the wine more texture, it gives it more complexity, it gives it all of that.
It gives more texture. And especially, it gives really the taste of that area.
Of the terroir,
And much less the taste of the variety.
Of the Ludi,
Of the variety, like aligoté, like Chardonnay. Which actually are vectors. Simply, they are messengers. Messengers, and we are interpreters.
Okay, tell us about the 22 vintage.
22,
your wines in the 22 vintage.
22, a vintage with a lot of precision, without any austerity, with, I would say, much more light than 23. We'll talk about the 23 afterwards, which is not pejorative for the 23. And not positive for the 22. It's just a reality, but it's a lot of precision in that vintage, and it's very terroir driven. This vintage 23 also is terroir driven.
Tasting the wines, they really are beautiful right now. I mean, they don't. I tend to want to always take an extended period of time to age my Burgundy, whites and reds. Yesterday, tasting through the 22s that we did, they are a little young, but really have the individual wines have a very distinctive taste profile.
Identity.
Yes, they're really showing beautifully.
And there's a lot of aestheticism in these wines. Aesthetic. Very aesthetic.
And minerality. I was very impressed.
Although, well, that's interesting, because we talk about minerality and structure. And the mood. So the mood of 22 would be more mineral, which doesn't mean that a structured place is not structured anymore. It decreases slightly that structure in a way, but the mineral place will increase with that minerality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the trick is if you have a vintage which is more mineral, you have to be even more cautious. Why? Because in a way, we mentioned just before that you have a sort of red line never to cross. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm coming back to the attitude that we have with others, with people. It's the same with these places. So the red line with more minerality is going down. So it means that with the mineral wines, you have to be even more cautious because that energy is more, and that is, so the introvert attitude is even more. So you have to be even more behind. And with the structure place, it's still structured, but it has not a minerality because it's not the energy of the place, but it has a certain acidity in a way.
Yes.
And that brings to that structured wine. It means that if you are too pushy with that structured wine, given that level of acidity, you could have a response from the side that could be a bit tough.
The wines also have a richness, not over extracted in any way, but they have they have a body to them.
They have, yeah.
They'll age, but surprisingly, they show very well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they have the richness on themselves.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yes, I agree. How about the 23s?
23, interesting to have this vintage after the 22. Different, not that different, but different, with much more on the dark fruits, more creamy. The fruit is much more creamy, not heavy. Mm-hmm. There's more structure about this vintage, I would say. Mm-hmm. But there's elegance, as long as you keep that elegance. Mm-hmm. And
you've kept the elegance.
I hope so. But still terroir driven. Mm-hmm. You still see the places. Mm-hmm. But quite different from 22. 22 is a bit more introverted in a way, a bit more not shy because there's a strength about these wines, but a bit more ethereal too in the attitude, a bit more. I would say I don't like the term, but I don't know how to explain it differently. A bit more intellectual. Mm-hmm. The 22, because not as obvious. Maybe it's not correct. The term intellectual. I would say 22, a bit more difficult to understand.
Thought-provoking?
More difficult to understand 22 than 23. More obvious to understand.
Okay.
Because 22 is very subtle, and.
So is that where you'd say it's more of a winemaker's vintage?
Each vintage is a winemaker vintage. When I make the wine, I don't go on vacation, so it's really winemaker vintage.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, it's yeah.
To me, it's such a wide variety of wines that I'm learning through you, where I've worked with you with 4 wines, mm-hmm. right? 4 wines? 5 wines? 5 wines. 5 wines. For how many years? And it's been amazing to see how each one of the ludis that you're working with express themselves and really are in their own right. I would put any one of them at my table. I mean, they're showing the 22s are showing absolutely beautifully, which is what we have right now, and we'll have the 23s soon.
Well, thanks. I think you can, if you have a so-called hierarchically, the hierarchy of the appellations,
mm-hmm. the hierarchy,
the level of the wines,
You guys are saying
the level of the wines inside Burgundy. it's not something which exists and which is totally legitimate and normal. But I don't think you need to. I've made Grand Cru for a certain time.
Yeah.
But I think, not to say that the Bourgogne is a Grand Cru, you'll never be a Grand Cru
Right.
if it's a Bourgogne. But I think that.
Bourgogne's pretty classy.
But yeah, yes, if you have a Bourgogne, if you take the Aligoté, if you take the Haute-Côte here, Les
Yeah.
Martennes,
Yes.
the origin is, it's not a Grand Cru, for sure it's not a Grand Cru, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to be precise with these places.
What I
and
see,
to have a high definition.
I agree completely. What I see in all of these wines is Burgundy has become very dear in price, and it is a sense of place. And all of the wines that I've tasted from you, for what they are, offer great value for today. Because, how many people are going to invest in Musigny? It takes it out of the range for so many people, and all of these offer an opportunity to be part of Burgundy.
And the thing also to finish with that, the definition of the places which are Bourgogne or village, it's the thing which is very important is not to try to transform a village into a premier cru,
Yes.
or the haute côte we have here to a côte. Especially when you have been working for a long time with Grand Cru, so you could have a sort of frustration in a way, which is absolutely not my case. On the contrary,
Yes.
and I think it's almost the fact of working with these appellations, which are sometimes not even known.
Yes.
Nobody knows. I think maybe I'm a bit romantic, but I think it's a way of putting in the front certain places, forgotten places.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Bringing them back to.
To say, well, okay, it's a Bourgogne, but look, it's interesting. It's not a Grand Cru, but nature has given a lot of places.
But again, it's coming, in my opinion, it comes back to the winemaker, because that same Ludi would act very differently with someone else, and I think it's important.
It's possible.
And because you worked with all those Grand Crus, not all, but because you had the exposure over so many years to see how those wines work, I mean, to be able to work with these.
Yes, and what you learn with Grand Cru, Grand Cru is very complicated. Almost whatever the Grand Cru, because these wines have a high reactivity, meaning that the complexity of the wine is very important, and at the same time you can damage things very quickly.
You've made a point of working with very specific vineyards.
Yes.
The quantities that you're making are very tiny. Tell us a little bit about that, and how much, when you're making a barrel of wine, that's 25 cases of wine, and each one of those deserves a huge commitment of your time and energy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, how you came about that, and how that makes sense both from a winemaking standpoint and financially?
Well, it's at the start you need room. You need room, and you need but it's not really, well, there's a financial aspect, of course. Although if you accumulate all these lots, if you accumulate 21 lots, financially speaking, it's a certain amount of money. So it's the room at first, because the facility is relatively small. But I think it's not an issue, in the sense that the advantage is we are producing a lot of different things that, of course, we want to be at the high level in terms of quality. And we are, it's almost a sort of exploration, as long as the level of quality is high, and which would be difficult if the lots were bigger. Then, of course, we would have less lots if you take the financial aspect and divide by lots. So that's the advantage anyway. Given the size of the facility, it would have been almost uninteresting to have just like 5 appellations with the same amount of wine. If you multiply these 5 tanks to the equivalent of the production that we have with 2023, I think it's much more interesting for us, and I hope also for the consumer. And also, it's by the way, a lot of attention. It's a lot of work when you have 21 lots. Well, we're not the only Domaine which has 21 lots, but it's a lot of attention, and it's a lot of care, because it's not easy to. Hopefully, our approach is very, very, very respectful, because when you have imagine a tank with 300 kilo. This is extremely small, and what you do on a tank with 300 kilo can be multiplied by 2 or multiplied by 3. I mean, the contact that you have, if you do like a punch down, be cautious. It's by foot most of the time, to be sure not to push too much. So there's a big adaptation to the size of the volume of grapes.
So for me, when I understand your concept, I actually know someone very personally who's done the same thing. I know that both the consumer and those that we sell to restaurants and retailers, wine is so individual. And so for us to relate how special each of these bottles is, I keep coming back to the wines that you're making are very stylistically you. And well,
stylistic.
Well, okay, they're the vineyard, but they are your experience with winemaking.
We make the wine. I don't disagree.
And so, really, to me, it comes back to what I believe so wholeheartedly is it's about the people behind the wines rather than just the vineyard. They're buying the quality of what you're producing, and the vineyard is important too. But some of the wines you're making, people won't even know, and I think for us that's what's going to be important in getting across to our customers.
Of course, we are.
They have to believe in you.
We are. I hope they will.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are interpreters.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a huge role.
Yes.
And it's not just the place.
Yes.
The place is what we have to bring into the glass. But
absolutely.
But of course, you can make wine so many different ways.
And you're only producing so much. So now is time for people to really understand that you're doing something quite special. That's it.